do or say will and can be held against you. All right, in a court of law. All right.
Nerd.
That actually, it can't be a court of law. So held accountable on a court of law.
Poopy, poopy, poopy.
Well,
Where's
that
Gage?
was mature.
All right, so
Smite
everyone,
them,
please,
Croshaw.
everyone, please mute your microphones and turn off your
Oh.
cameras. Let's
You did? Okay. Yeah.
Let's talk about this.
Oh, okay. That's.
Greg, mute your
Sorry.
camera. Mute yourself. All right.
I like to talk, though.
Mute yourself. All right. Thank you. All right. I didn't say hi to Reese. Hi, Reese. So we have Reese, Gage, Garrett, Isaiah, Jeremiah, John, Mac, Maddie, Max, Miguel, Nathaniel, Nicholas, Sierra, Skylar, Steven. Let's see here. Why are we quoting songs? Oh my gosh. Tom, somebody once told me. Somebody once told me the world is gonna roll me. All right, so
Should we all sing Croshaw?
No, you shouldn't. Just me. I have to be the center of attention. All right. Why does Miguel keep on going in and out? That's my question. All right.
He may be getting kicked.
So today I wanted to talk about the space shuttle. All right, the space shuttle. So the space shuttle, of course, was the.
Did we write this down?
Yeah, I would write it in your notebooks. All right.
Whoa, the chat is cancer.
I know. All right. You're not muted. What are we doing in class today? Says Mac. Thanks for trying to keep us on course there, Mac. That's so funny because it's so quirky. Haha, Nick. Okay. All right. So who keeps kicking Miguel? All right. So the space shuttle was the workhorse launch vehicle for the United States from 1980. The first launch was So if we look here, the first launch was retired. Let's see here, failures, successes. Yeah, 1981, April 12th, 1981. So who has their microphone on? I can hear noise in the background. 1981 was its first launch, and the space shuttle is also called the Space Transportation System. All right, and if we look at the good image here, let's see if I can find a larger image. No? Whatever. Open a new tab. So if we look at this here, so this is the Space Shuttle Enterprise. The Space Shuttle Enterprise was named such actually after the USS Enterprise from Star Trek, believe it or not.
Can you call it the space shuttle if it never went to space?
Okay, yes. So the Enterprise never went to space, but it was a fully functional shuttle. It could have gone to space. It just never did. So there were multiple different space shuttles. Okay. Sky, stop presenting. Sky, stop presenting. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't know I could do that. It was an accident. I thought I was recording the call.
Can everyone still see me?
Yes.
Steven, turn off your microphone. It's annoying.
I can see you, but not the thing you're presenting.
Can you see the space shuttle now?
No, I see your face.
You only see my face.
Yes.
Sky, you ruined it for everybody, Sky. Resume your presentation. Okay.
There it is.
All right. Now we can see it, right?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. All right. So everybody's muted. All right. Everybody's paying attention. All right. So
What
the
was the
space
first
shuttle.
launch?
The first launch was 1981. So here's what I want you to write down. I want you to write down number 1, Space Shuttle, also called Space Transportation System, or STS. Okay? Space Shuttle, also called the Space Transportation System, or STS. Okay? STS. So you can see that the STS abbreviation, that was the abbreviation given to every one of its missions. It's called STS. Okay? So the space shuttle, let's see here. A new tab. The space shuttle launched 135 times. And here we are. Let's find. So there were multiple different ones. I'd like you to write down the different names of the space shuttles. So there was Space Shuttle Challenger. Okay, Space Shuttle Challenger. Space Shuttle Endeavour. This is Endeavour right here. So Challenger, Endeavour. Enterprise, you can put in parentheses next to Enterprise, never flew. All right, it never flew. Unless, of course, you count the way that they would transport it, which was on the back of a 747, which is pretty sweet. That just looks so cool to me. So we have Challenger, Endeavour, Enterprise, Columbia, Atlantis, and Discovery. I believe that's all of them.
Who keeps kicking Miguel? Or is he leaving?
I think that he might be. Kicking himself. I don't know.
No, he's not kicking himself. He's yelling at me. He thinks I'm doing it. He keeps texting me.
Hey, whoever is kicking Miguel, stop it, please. If I find out who you are, there will be a problem.
Was there a difference between the space shuttles, or were they
Not
all the
really.
same?
They were all the same design. So here we can see Columbia, Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, Endeavour.
So
What were they mainly used for?
They named them just like they named like naval ships, right? The USS, for instance, the USS Arizona, the USS Utah, the USS Harry Truman, right? They give names to every one of them.
So we could have had a Harry Truman going into space.
Could have. The space shuttles were all named after like something inspirational, right? So Columbia is after like the region of the United States. It's kind of also a reference to Columbus, right? Challenger, Discovery, Atlantis, of course, the mythical city of Atlantis, Endeavour, and Enterprise, right? So all these different things that are like characteristics that we should look up to, or something inspirational, something like that, right? Not after.
There were 4.
That's cute.
There were 5 that went to space. 5 that went to space, plus the Enterprise, which did not go to space.
But were all of them?
Wait, so this was reused?
Yes. The actual orbiter, this part, the plane-looking thing, was reused. But we'll talk about how it was reused. Okay.
SpaceX is lying.
No, not really.
That without paying?
Not really, because SpaceX claims that they can reuse, or they have the first reusable orbital class booster. Okay, so the space shuttle here. Okay, the space shuttle would so let's actually just pull up
What were all the names?
of the shuttles.
Yes.
Challenger, Columbia, Endeavour, Atlantis, Discovery, and Enterprise. And Enterprise never flew. They're all right here. Columbia,
Why
Challenger.
didn't Enterprise fly?
The Enterprise was more of like a test bed.
It glided. It did not fly.
Yeah, they did glide tests with the Enterprise and
I know.
like building tests and so forth.
Can you
Okay.
say it glided though if it falls at the same rate of a skydiver?
Yeah, the shuttle was not very good at flying. Let's just say that much. Its wings
It
were
had
not
the
very
glide
good.
ratio of a brick.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so space.
Wait, so you said it launched 145 times?
135
30.
times.
Oh. Do they all have unique names?
Yes.
Just STS-1 through STS-135.
Oh.
But they would reuse them. So for instance, the Columbia was reused multiple times. Columbia was the first one.
Oh. So
Okay,
they built it 5 times.
They built 5 different shuttles, actually 6 different shuttles. They built 6 different shuttles. The 5 that went to space multiple times for a grand total over the 5 shuttles of 135 launches.
That's really cool.
Okay. So the space shuttle here, if we so let's watch. We're just gonna watch this quickly here. Official clock. Let's see here. We're still on the pad. 8 minutes. 5. Okay. So there's the space shuttle has the ability to carry 7 people, or had the ability to carry 7 people. Okay, so I'm just going to back it up here. So here we have the crew compartment. All right, this is where the crew are. The pilot and the co-pilot or the captain are up here. And then you have up to 5 other crew members in the lower deck. There are 3 main engines on the bottom of this here, and we'll look at those in a second.
Only 2 people get a window seat.
Yep, only 2 people get a window seat.
You have to try not eject though, because you'll die.
Only the first few launches of this shuttle had an ejection. So So this big orange tank is full of liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen for the engines on the bottom of the shuttle. And then here, these white things on the side are solid rocket boosters. That solid rocket fuel packed into the sides. Okay, so and then here we have a view of the 3 main engines. You can see one here, and one here. There are smaller engines here on the sides, but these 3 main engines. So you can see this, what looks like steam, that is actually a little bit of liquid oxygen being purged out the back of the nozzles, because
wouldn't that be wasteful?
Yeah.
Kind of, but they need to chill the engine bells. You can see those engine bells vectoring. That's how they steer the rocket. See how they're moving like that? So they're just staying still right now, but you can see them move around.
Did they use the rudder for steering on launch?
No. That would be like the worst idea ever.
Would it make it go out of control?
You do not want to use
or would
any
the rudder get
aerodynamic
ripped off?
surfaces to steer a rocket.
Was it?
Especially not a rocket like this, because the aerodynamics are super weird anyway, because you have a plane on the side of a rocket.
Aerodynamics. This is the definition.
Okay, so
How did we go from
Wait,
the
so did they
Saturn
only
V
use the
to
control
this?
surfaces when they were gliding?
yeah, they only use the control surfaces when they would So this is actually the fueling arm being retracted away from. This is the top of the fuel tank here. Okay, so that those engines were purging some liquid oxygen to cool down the engine bell. So you can see there are pipes on the outside of this here. Those pipes have liquid oxygen running through them to cool down the engine so that when they do launch, it doesn't just burn a hole in the side of the engine bell. So, and then, yeah, they retract that. Okay, 1 minute. Let's just skip to the interesting part, shall we? Okay, so.
Wait. Did the space shuttles ever have a chance of tipping backward?
No, not really. Okay, so they're about to light the main engines. They're using these like giant sparklers. Boom. Okay, that's all right. This is one of my.
I thought the sparks didn't light the engine, but it was to like purge the area of extra gases.
Yo, what happened to being mute, huh?
Yeah, I will answer your questions in just a second, Baker.
Fine.
So the sparklers did purge excess hydrogen. They also would. I think that they did actually use them to. Maybe they didn't use them to light it. That's a good question. Anyway, so you can see that oxygen being. Oh, that's one of my favorite things. Oh yeah. Okay, that's one of my favorite things. You can see the engines come to full thrust, and then they vector in toward themselves. Oof. It's muy bueno. All right, so you can see there that the engines actually ignite and get up to full thrust before they ignite the solid rocket boosters on the side. The space shuttle was too heavy to actually lift itself using its own engines. The shuttle couldn't lift itself. Those side boosters did all the heavy lifting. Each one of those boosters was like 2 million pounds of thrust. Just an unreasonable, just absolutely stupid amount of thrust.
Rosha, you should see the chat.
Should we write down solid rocket boosters, stupid amount of thrust?
Yes.
All
right. So here's what I want you to write down from what we've just been discussing. All right. I want you to write down that it used an external liquid fuel tank. External liquid fuel tank. You can put in parentheses the orange thing. Okay. External liquid fuel tank is the orange.
What if it's STS-1 or 2, Croshaw? There is no orange thing.
Yeah, it's white. Okay, we get it, Garrett. You have an understanding of the history of the.
But it's not orange.
Mute.
Mr. Kershaw.
What?
What's the difference in the colors?
What colors?
In the space shuttle, like why is it orange compared to the first two where it was white?
So this orange is insulation.
Well, didn't they just decide not to paint it? Isn't that why?
Yeah. He's snorting rocket fuel. Okay, Baker.
What do you want, Croshaw?
Oh, geez. Okay, so first launch was 1981. Yeah, last launch was in 2011. Thank you, Gage. That was a good synopsis. Okay. So what else? So use the external liquid fuel tank and then 2 solid rocket boosters on the sides with 3 main liquid fuel rockets. 3 main liquid fuel rockets on back of shuttle. All right, so let me repeat all of that. External liquid fuel tank, the orange thing, solid rocket boosters, and 3 main engines, liquid fuel engines on back of shuttle. Okay? So as you can see, as it goes up into the air like this, and it starts to roll. Oh man, tell you what, the space shuttle was kind of a mess, but holy cow, was it ever beautiful.
Why would they have it roll? Why wouldn't they just have the launch system like angled in a way it doesn't have to roll?
I'm not going to answer that question right now. It's more complex than it's worth, to be honest.
Azimuths.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really haphazard.
So everyone sees here at the bottom, that is the heat shield. Okay. You can see individual tiles there on the bottom. And then this right here is the fuel tank. Oh, well, that was that. Okay. So if we look at this here, 32 seconds in, we're already at 558 miles per hour. This thing really moved, like really fast. And you can see this is actually a perfect view. You can see those three main engines here. So those are burning hydrogen and oxygen, and that's really, really clean mixture. When hydrogen and oxygen burn together, they just make water. That's it. That's all they make. These solid rocket boosters are just pumping out huge amounts of chemicals, aluminum and nitrogen and like tetrachlorates, all sorts of crazy things. But man, these are essentially glorified bottle rockets. They're like humongous fireworks. Just hopefully they don't explode.
Are you able to build that in KSP?
Yes. And next time I probably will, actually.
Have you ever actually made a space shuttle that has the proper launch sequence, though?
Not really. I'm going to attempt next time to make a proper space shuttle, but
Will it be a NASA shuttle or just a shuttle?
No, like an actual space shuttle.
STS.
Yeah, similar
I
to
saw a
STS.
guy build one.
Wait, is the water from those rocket engines, is it drinkable?
Yeah, I mean it condenses into clouds and then rains.
That's cool.
Imagine if you could collect that water.
All right.
So
Make
this is
a
the
lot of
most
money.
expensive rain machine.
Okay, so I'm not gonna. We only technically have 5 minutes left of class. I'm not going to end class right here because I need to talk about a couple of other last things. But the launch sequence here, and then you're going to see the boosters come off the side here. So this was the third to last launch, STS-133, which was in 2010. All right, so I'm going to go back here. You can watch the solid rocket boosters come off the sides here. They detach and then fall away. You can see them detach there. And then the shuttle itself keeps on going by itself with its big old gigantic tank. Right? Okay. So pretty cool. Oh, that's a beautiful shot right there.
Oh, dude.
The two boosters falling away from the main orbiter. So as we talked about before, the shuttle had some problems. So I want you to write down that the boosters would come off first, and then the external fuel tank would separate. So we've talked about before that the space shuttle had all sorts of problems. Columbia had a problem with its heat shield, right? The tiles here on the bottom, one of them was cracked and it ended up breaking apart on reentry. And then Challenger in, I think it was like 83. Challenger exploded on STS-25. See here, flight history. So Challenger, 1987. Yeah, really, really bad. No, 86, sorry. January of 1986 was the explosion of Challenger. So pretty sad. Anyway, disintegrated upon reentry. STS-107 was Columbia when it broke apart because of the heat shield problem. Okay. So, couple of last things. So you should have in your notes that the space shuttle first flew in 1981. It was partially reusable. So what would happen is the shuttle would go up into space, and then this is what it looked like in space. Pretty cool. Here it actually has a part of the International Space Station inside of its payload bay. And here's a robotic arm. So this whole thing on the inside was just a huge, like, carrier. It would carry pieces of the space station and other satellites, including the Hubble Space Telescope. And then it would go take them to space, and then it would come back down. When it would come back down, they would essentially take the whole thing apart. They would take it apart piece by piece, essentially, and then reassemble it to make sure that everything was good. So while it was technically the same orbiter, so like Discovery flew multiple times, Atlantis flew multiple times, they had to essentially take the whole thing apart and put it back together every time, and it ended up being super, super expensive. Endeavour here was the last to be built. Atlantis was the most flown. You can see Atlantis here in the green. Flew the most times. So pretty cool. All right, so that's the space shuttle. Next time, I think that I might build a space shuttle in a live stream like this during class. Let me go to the chat here.
Right now?
What?
Isn't class over right now?
Yeah, class is over. I'm gonna just give you like an extra 5 minutes if you want to stick around and ask a question or two. I'm looking at the chat right now.
How will the other classes work? Will they keep using Meet?
I don't know. It depends on the teacher.
What about
Crush on-
biology? Next period, are you going to use Meet again?
For biology?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about Earth systems?
Yes.
Well,
Earth
are we
systems,
taking?
Earth systems today, I definitely will.
What are we taking notes?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you know how lunchtime is gonna work? Is there gonna be is there gonna be a gap like A3?
There is no lunchtime because we're on Friday schedule.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. So any last
did you feel that
space shuttle that we covered today?
Kershaw.
What?
Okay, bye-bye.
I heard there's a chance that earthquake was foreshock.
Bye.
Wait, how do I leave?
You press the end button, the end call button.
Oh, that
You are
makes
Throw your
sense.
phone out the window.
Bye, Crusher.
Bye, Sarah. Okay.
Croshaw,
What?
I had a question earlier about that water you were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it just like distilled water because there's not like any minerals in it?
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be like really bad if you drunk it then?
It would be, well, it would get the minerals in it just from interacting with the atmosphere, because there's minerals just floating around and stuff. It wouldn't actually be that bad for you.
Oh, all right.
Because technically rainwater is just distilled water too, because it's pure water that just evaporates off of the ocean or off of lakes and stuff.
All right.
So I heard there's a chance that earthquake was foreshock, meaning there could be a bigger one after.
We could have another earthquake today.
Ooh.
We'll see.
I felt a second one.
Yeah, I felt a small aftershock about 15 minutes later.
Yeah.
I'm too far away. I didn't feel anything.
Yeah, it was pretty small. All right. Any other questions about the space shuttle before we end today, gentlemen?
I've got other questions.
Oh, Trinity's still in. Never mind.
Dude, the captions work pretty well.
Yeah, they're pretty
Yeah.
good.
Google's speech recognition
Oh
is
God,
actually
no, and
super
everybody
impressive.
talk.
Me
All
and
right, I'm
Savannah
gonna
discovered that.
yeah, I'm gonna end the recording.